All right, now let's see if the final or the semifinal match is up between SiLLyness and Bizarro. Da-da-da-da. Looking for Dave. KFE. Well, according to Twitch, I currently have 2 viewers. All right, so Bizarro versus Silly, and Silly chose to mulligan, putting him at 5 cards for going second. That's rough. BizzaroDavid leads out with Library of the Damned. I like that as a good first turn play. Then again, I'm just a fan of Library of the Damned. Every time you call Dis now, though, you'll be able to archive something, open yourself up for better card draw, and cycle through your deck to the power cards faster, as well as stash things like, I don't know, bait and switch or too much to protect. I know he has too much to protect from the last game. He also have bait and switch. Oh no, he has one last job from the last game. Stashing something like one last job and saving it for when it's actually going to be useful is far superior to just discarding it. Silly let out with Dis, getting Charette and Schuler on the board. Just kind of, those are both better cards when your opponent has some amber. But they are creatures on the board that give you reaping potential that has to be answered or ignored. Silly can now call Dis again to get 2 amber, but probably fight with one and kill the Bat Drone, if not fight with both, because Quicks of the Adventurer and Bat Drone are both useful cards with thievery and card draw, respectively. I think that's not respectively. I think it's the other way around. All right, so Silly does in fact call this again. I assume that it's going to be fight and fight, though. Fight and fight. So clears off the Logos creatures, gets a Dust Imp into play. BizzaroDavid's going to play out the second Library of the Damned, a Lash of Broken Dreams, and archive a card. Um, and discard Poltergeist. Wow. So BizzaroDavid is conceding the board state a little bit right now, but has set himself up for ridiculous power in the future. Having double library on the Library of the Damned out on turn 3 rather, is a little bit ridiculous. That's, you call this, you throw 2 cards into your archive. You play on average 2. You're cycling through 4 cards every time you call this, at least. In all likelihood, you're going to cycle through more. And then if you're throwing, say, all shadows into your archive, you build up a massive shadows turn. Where you just pull in your archive and say, okay, I'll drop 6 creatures. Yeah, it's going to be rough on Silly. I haven't looked at Silly's deck. I don't remember what he has, but here comes some Logos. Not really doing much with it. Getting Doc Bookton and a Dexter into play. That's more just cycling through your deck trying to find something, I feel. Playing it because it's there. It doesn't really do much to improve board state. I don't even really know that there's anything there that I'd want to go out of my way to kill if I were Silly. Getting Doc Bookton off to recover the card draw and reduce the amount that he can cycle through wouldn't be bad. But that having been said, you're throwing away your Mighty Javelin to do it in all likelihood. Mighty Javelin and then attack with the Dust Imp. Gives you 2 amber, but I don't know that it's a great play. That having been said, there's plenty of things he can do from hand here. And that's what he's thinking through now, what the optimal play is. As a reminder, this is the Keyforge event, Monday night sealed deck tournament. Semi-final match between SiLLy and BizzaroDavid. So yes, he does choose to fight and kill off Doc Bookton. But he does it by throwing away the Schuler instead of throwing away the Dust Imp. And then Poltergeist, one of the Library of the Damned. So that recovers some. I think that using the Poltergeist in the Library of the Damned was the right call. I would have been tempted to take out the Lash of Broken Dreams, but unsurprisingly, BizzaroDavid had archived his bait and switch, which SiLLy does not like, and then gets SiLLy down to one amber and uses the Ghostly Hand to steal said one amber. So bait and switch into a Relentless Whisper, which gives a steal, into a Ghostly Hand, and it swings from 5-0 to 9-2. With decidedly one-sided board states. BizzaroDavid quite amusingly comments, "Don't touch my books." SiLLy blows up a Library of the Damned. David slaps SiLLy across the face, takes all of SiLLy's ember, and then some. Let's see, BizzaroDavid popping down some Sanctum creatures. Or sorry, BizzaroDavid. SiLLy popping down some Sanctum creatures, capturing a little bit of amber. Was there a Doorstep to Heaven played? Oh no, it was a Gatekeeper that was played. That puts David off of being able to forge his first key. Gatekeeper, for the record, when you play it, if your opponent has 7 or more amber, you capture all but 5 of it. So there's 4 amber seen on a captured creature out there, and BizzaroDavid uses a Nerve Blast and Reaping across the board to get right back up to 8. So SiLLy is once again facing a prospect where BizzaroDavid is going to forge his first key through massive quantities of ember. It's not something that, in fact, even with 2 Sequises out there, you can't capture enough to push them off straight by Sanctum. And then you're starting to ask yourself if that's really the wise way to go, because you have so much ember captured. A Gateway to Dis would immediately refresh him to a forged state where he's threatening to forge a key. I mean, yes, the Sequises are nice. You've got quite a bit of potential to capture amber there, but it's not actually enough. So while SiLLy is deliberating, let's take a quick look at SiLLy's deck. Nope, that's not SiLLy's deck. We've looked at this one earlier in the night, but it bears revisiting. Fear and Hysteria can be very useful here. See him killing off Shadow Self. What did he do to kill Shadow Self? Poor Shadow Self. Was it just combat? Yeah, it was just combat. He throws everything at Shadow Self to keep it from becoming a protector of a more annoying creature. And speaking of Gateway to Disc, there's Gateway to Disc, and BizzaroDavid is immediately back at 6 Ember. Because all the Ember was captured. Not stolen, not lost. Gateway to Disc is a great capture recovery. So BizzaroDavid now has, well, now 2 chains. Had 3 chains from the Gateway to Disc. So he's drawing a little bit less. But again, an Ember Imp is very powerful. Fortunately, Sally has the Mighty Javelin, so he can take out the Ember Imp if he wants to. But at the same time, he's also leaving Snudge on the board. He can pick and choose which one to take out with the Mighty Javelin. But ideally, you'd be able to take out both of them. They're both highly dangerous cards that you want to kill. And the Javelin takes out the Ember Imp. And then Silly's going to just start throwing out Brobnar cards. Bumpsy knocks Bizzaro off of his Amber to forge a key. And then we get Gringer Chieftain to fight. That tells me that was probably a mistake. The Mighty Javelin should have been used to kill Snudge, and then Crump could have fought the Ember Imp. Yeah, and then Crump could have fought the Ember Imp. Because you could have played Crump, and then the Ganger Chieftain, killed the Ember Imp, and then done everything else. You have to do it in the right order, but it could have been done. Now BizzaroDavid drops back down 2 bad pennies, but keep coming back, trying to convince me that Bad Penny is a great card. I'm still not convinced. And a Naughty the Thief, which actually is a great card. I'd rather have an Umbra, but well, Umbra doesn't have elusive. Never mind. Naughty the Thief is a great card. Silly will throw 2 creatures at fighting Naughty. Not surprising. So Naughty dies. There are 2 bad pennies out there. They're going to get ignored as Silly reaps across the board. Drops a Bumpsy, dropping Bizzaro back down to 3 Amber. And with the Brobnar creatures, Silly actually is starting to take control of the match a little bit more. BizzaroDavid, though, calls Logos, uses the Time Traveler combo of help from your future self into Time Traveler, draws a bunch of cards, throws down another Library of Babel, uses the first Library of Babel. This deck has a lot of books. I guess BizzaroDavid likes to read. Dexter, Titan Mechanic. So both players' keys now cost 5. Not enough for Silly to forge, but BizzaroDavid is threatening because of it. Silly should be able to push him off of it with Crump. If Silly calls Brobnar, Crump fights Time Traveler. You always fight Time Traveler. That will push BizzaroDavid down to 4 Amber, and then reap across the board. Alternatively, if you want to try and take advantage of the Titan Mechanic yourself, you fight Dexter there, and then reap across the board. That would make BizzaroDavid go to 4 Amber. The Titan Mechanic would still be alive. And you gain the Amber back. I don't know what I'm saying there. I'm getting tired. Yeah. Either way, you're leaving the Titan Mechanic alive to try and take advantage of the fact that your keys are a little bit cheaper from it. BizzaroDavid's not taking advantage of it because he can't forge a key this turn. And you have the ability to kill it on the following turn in all likelihood. And BizzaroDavid calls Shadows, reaps across the board. Relentless Whispers, which lets him steal 1. And another Relentless Whispers, which lets him steal a 2nd. And of course, kill off a couple creatures. And then there goes the one last job, putting BizzaroDavid at 13 Amber. So threatening both the 2nd and then the 3rd key. 2 turns out. Silly is not happy. The one last job is just as powerful this game as it was in the last game we watched, making for a massive Amber swing. So much Amber stolen. and Silly can't push David off of it. Doesn't have a doorstep to heaven or burn the stockpiles. Does manage to steal 1 amber with the Schuler, but BizzaroDavid is already threatening the third and final key. Could get to take advantage of his own Titan mechanic and have the key only cost 5. So now he is 2 amber over his threshold. And while Silly might have an answer this turn, David throws down 2 pit demons to try and basically lock down the game at this point. Silly gets another turn and has to take at least, best case scenario, 2 amber off of BizzaroDavid and kill the Titan mechanic. Or take 3 amber or more off of David. And Silly says, nope, can't do it. Good game, you two. Is the concession. Silly's tournament run ends in the semifinals, with David advancing to the final match against Jiro. Well, since Jiro came out of my bracket, that feels good. I actually think I played Jiro, but he came out of